Chris, thanks for the time, man. Good to talk to you again. What's your reaction to how much the Panthers just gave up to move up to number one?
Well, I'm listening to you guys talk, as I'm getting ready to come on with you, and I don't know, is this a trade maybe we both can be happy about? I mean, we've been wanting the Panthers, I think a lot of us here, to be aggressive and make a move like this, to go finally and get your guy. In the 3 years of Matt Rule off seasons, the Panthers never made that move in the draft. It was all these recycled quarterbacks, none of which could play worth a lick. I mean, Sam Darnold was the best one. So that's all I need to say about that. So I think we wanted a decisive move. Scott Fitter, the GM, has kept saying, my dog likes to move. He's very excited. Scott Fitter, the GM of the Panthers, has been saying, the right way to do it is to get your guy in the draft and groom him. They've got Frank Reich. They've got Jim Caldwell, Josh McCown. I think they have a good staff to groom a young quarterback. I really love the move. I think there's risk, obviously, because they're giving up a ton. The DJ Moore factor is the only thing that bums me out. But I think they had to do something like this. And I think they were afraid of someone else getting up to one, taking a QB there, Houston taking like Stroud and Young going in the first two picks. And even if they traded up to three, they wouldn't have got one of those two. I think that's what they were worried about.
So, Chris, then tell us from our perspective. You said you're bummed about DJ Moore. Some people are going to quibble here that he's not a true number one receiver. I've argued that he is, but he just hasn't had good quarterback play. What are Bears fans getting in DJ Moore?
Yeah, we've had the same argument. There's a minority of Panther fans that every year would say he's not a true number one, and I would say the same thing you said. As you look at the group of quarterbacks that he has played with and the numbers he put up. Now, this past year was a down year for him statistically. There's no doubt about it. It got better once Darnold started and P.J. Walker started. He and Baker, it was some of the worst chemistry I've ever seen between a team's number one and a quarterback. I mean, it was just his production and targets dropped off the map with Baker Mayfield. But other than that, I mean, he played with Teddy Bridgewater, Darnold for a season and a half. I mean, Kyle Allen was in there at one point, and he just continued to put up 1,200-yard seasons. I mean, he's fearless. He'll go over the middle, and he'll catch anything. His run after the catch ability is amazing. I mean, I think you're really going to like him. I do think that there probably will be that debate because I don't think although he did have a season where he averaged close to 18 yards a catch. I mean, he does have speed and can get deep. The Panthers just never had a quarterback that could get it to him consistently deep. But, man, I think Justin Fields is going to love him. I think most of your fans will love him. There will be maybe some nitpicking that maybe, compared to, the Justin Jeffersons of the world, the Jamar Chases. He's not like that. But sure. I think he's damn good. And, again, that's you guys are going to love all the picks too, I'm sure. But, that's the one part of it where I was like, damn, I wish we didn't have to do that,
As we were wondering what players might get thrown in a deal, and we looked at Carolina, we thought about Brian Burns, and now you mentioned DJ Moore. A lot of Bears fans are going to remember, Chris, when he caught the 62-yard touchdown and then took off his helmet in the Atlanta game and got unsportsmanlike, cost you the extra point. That was his low light this year. Off the field, and or sort of intangibly on the field, how's the character, the football intelligence of DJ Moore?
See, that's the thing about that. That felt so out of character for him. He was just so fired up. I mean, it was like they pulled this out of nowhere, this potential game-winning play, and he lost his head for a minute. But, man, he is like in an era of loudmouth diva wide receivers, he is the most mild-mannered, cool, chill dude off the field. You guys get a chance to talk to him, you will not believe he plays wide receiver. I mean, he's just a cool, chill dude. But he just, like I said, man, he's willing to block. A city like Chicago's going to love him. He's going to be willing to block in the run game. He is, he'll go over the middle, take a hit. He runs like a running back after the catch. You know what I mean? He wants to not just juke you, but run physically through tackles. So, yeah, that moment was weird. It wasn't his best. The Panthers very well could have gone to the playoffs if it wasn't for that moment. So, yeah, that one wasn't good. I'll forget about that one because that was out of character.
Okay.
That was strange.
Hey, Chris, take no offense. We're hoping you're really bad this year and your number one next year is really, really good. What quarterback – do you have any inkling as to what quarterback? Is it Anthony Richardson blowing people away in the combine? Because he's raw and you might stink.
Yeah. No, I feel like it's Young or Stroud. I know there's a lot of talk that Levis is also one of the guys they're interested in. but I kind of think that they might view Levis and Stroud as the top two and feared that if we trade, like I said, if we trade to 3 or 5, we're not getting one of our top two. So I think it's going to be one of those guys. I mean, the thing about the Panthers this year, because I completely get what you're rooting for here, I mean, they're in this division that is just so winnable. Yeah. I mean, last year they were able to start 1-5 and still almost win the damn thing. So, and now Brady's leaving the division. So I do think like that's the one thing that could screw you up. Could the Panthers with their defense, a very improved O-line, if one of those rookies is ready to play, and I think if it's Stroud or Young, I think those guys might be ready to play early. The problem is we were short on weapons already offensively in the pass game, and the Panthers just got rid of their best one. So that's now becomes a mega need for them.
Chris McLean, WFNZ in Charlotte, is our guest. The Bears have made a massive, historic trade, both in terms of draft compensation and how early they did it, trading down to 9 with the Panthers. The Panthers now have the number 1 overall pick. The Bears get the 61st pick in this year's draft, in addition to a first-round pick next year, a second-round pick in 2025, and DJ Moore. That was what I was thinking, Chris. Like, you guys are going to draft a quarterback, but you just traded away a 25-year-old number 1 wide receiver. That feels like a bad recipe for a rookie quarterback. Could easily be a draft and stash and play a veteran in front of him for at least a little bit. If it's not Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, I mean, you'll obviously draft a quarterback, but who would be the veteran that you expect to start for Carolina this year?
Yeah, that's a hell of a question. I mean, now that we're at 1, I'm hoping it's a guy that is ready. Like if you had to pick Levis or Richardson, I think we were all conceding, well, that bridge might last the whole season, you know.
But
now I'm kind of hopeful if you get Stroud or Young that sooner rather than later they can go in. I mean, I kind of thought Darnold played really well this past year, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I think he could be affordable. Jimmy G, there's a little Jimmy G talk out there, and he's intriguing because obviously he's won a hell of a lot of games this league. Now, granted, he's far from perfect, and he's had a supporting cast that we don't quite have here in Carolina yet in San Fran. But he's a name, and I think Jacoby Brissett's a name being mentioned too because of the ties to Frank Reich. So those seem to be the 3 names, but they have to, like, y'all will see it as you monitor, you know, how good or bad we're going to be as you root for us to be horrible. There should be a free agent quarterback, I would think, signed next week because they're going to need that veteran guy, and then obviously they're going to draft one. I mean, the only quarterbacks they have under contract right now are Matt Corral and Jacob Eason, for God's sake.
Oh, my God.
All right, so it's someone else that'll be in the room with Bryce Young or C.J. Stroud in your mind. This is good stuff with Chris McClain, WFNZ in Charlotte. Anything else we need to know about DJ Moore? Chris, anything else?
No, I love the guy. I mean, I have to be honest. We've been, you know, when we've been talking in the mornings here in Charlotte about it, and it's been polarizing. And I know, and it kills me, by the way, you know, we do a morning show, and you guys can relate to this. The fact that this happens now, and I have to wait till Monday, I'm glad you called, because my wife didn't want to hear about this. So I'm glad you called. Because no one else here at the house cares. But, like...
hey, Chris, if you got a thought in the next hour, 5 minutes, you call us right back, all right? Something important pops in you think we need to know, man, because... Woo! Yeah, this is a biggie, and we're glad to be on. Ownership pressure have anything to do with this? We've been counting on Jim Irsay, you know, and maybe Cal McNair to be the drunken owners that push this one over the edge. How did this happen from your perspective down there?
It's interesting because I know that Tepper has the reputation as being the most quarterback-thirsty, quarterback-horny dude in the league in ownership, right? And I think he deserved it. They went hard after Stafford. They even looked into Russ and got blown off there quickly. The Watson thing, they were in despite all his legal issues. I think there's been a little bit of a change of mindset here. They didn't want to pay Derek Carr $35 million because Scott Fitter, the GM, like I said, insists the right way to do it is to draft your guy. I think I think they're aggressive. And I think, you know, Tepper, who has talked openly about if you don't have a quarterback that's capable of getting you to Super Bowl, you know, you're a non-player. Like he gets that position is so important in this league and the most important in sports. I just think they kind of shifted their mindset. And I don't know if that's because Matt Rule's gone. You know, every offseason, like I said, in the Matt Rule era, they went out and got veterans. And Matt Rule had final say. As weird as that sounds, because the dude had 1 year as an assistant coach in the NFL before he came here. And for some reason, David Tepper allowed him to have final personnel say. But maybe it's Rule's gone, and maybe this group that's here, Fitter and Dan Morgan in that front office and Frank Reich. Frank Reich, I think also, you know, he went through it in Indy where they kept grabbing veterans, retreads, and look where it got him. So maybe it's just this group that's here. They now know they're still aggressive, right? They're still QB thirsty, but I think they've changed. I think they've gotten out of that retread mindset, and I say thank God for that.